Hey team, welcome to Inside the Movie Photographer with Jasin Boland. Today, I've got someone who's actually been a bit of a photography coach for me recently, and I was blown away by his photography on the My Nikon Life Facebook page, and we started having a chat, and he's 34 years old. He's didn't pick up a DSLR until he was 20. He's a project manager, but his passion is photography, like all of us. He's a father to an 18-month-old son, Jack, and he's first started off with nature, big nature lover, likes getting outside, landscapes, birds in flight, started off there because they're nice and tricky, but then he moved into shooting storms. This is my buddy, the storm chaser, Will Eades. Come in, champ. How are you?
How you going?
Good, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Did we get that right?
Yeah, man. Pleasure. Everything. 34, sun, Will Eades, storms. That's me.
There you go. Hey, Will, you've been a major help for me. I don't know. I mean, well, you do know that I am the rookie storm chaser, and you might have got your DSLR at 20 years of age, but I'm 55 and I'm just discovering that storms are freaking exciting. It's like, it's as exciting as being on a movie set shooting stunts, and I get why you're so passionate about it.
Believe it or not, there was just a rumble of thunder outside just then. When you said storms are exciting, rumble of thunder. My phone's down here dinging, so I'm excited to talk to you, but I'm even more interested to kind of stare out the window if this rolls over. They're the best.
If you got to go, you let me know and we'll pick it up later, because I don't want you to miss out on the storm. Because
no, we booked this in.
Man, more importantly than you and I having a chat is me having a look at your photos later and going, oh, come on. It's
I could probably we could flick this to the phone, and or a GoPro, and I could strap it to my head, and you could just follow me on the chase. Maybe that.
Oh, that'd be fun. Do you have one of those? Storm chaser trucks?
Not yet. It's a dream of mine. There's a local guy, Daniel Shaw. He's got this old beat up, looks like a RAV4. It's in storage over in Colorado somewhere, and he flies over, gets it out of the shed. It's banged up to hell and covered in armor and rails and cameras and hail barricades, and yeah, that's what I want. One of them one day.
No way. That's just rad. Yeah, we had some big hail here the other day. And we're going to talk about it anyway. But I want to hook into some photos so that people aren't looking at my ugly old mug and your handsome young one. And,
freshly shaved. Freshly
well done. Oh, nice cup. Got a little bit of product placement going on there, Mr. Z Creator, huh?
There's a bolt.
Really? Honestly, if you got to go, you just go.
Isn't that funny? No, I'm fine.
It's cool.
I'm getting text messages. Bolts are coming.
Hey, so we were just about to flick over to looking at some shots, but your phone's dinging off. You saw a lightning strike, and you're hearing the thunder. Give me a look what's on your radar, buddy.
So I'm the little blue dot.
Yep.
Port Macquarie.
Yep.
And you can see there's two little like cells that are probably about to merge. Those red dots are lightning strikes.
So that's like the perfect storm on the way.
Oh, it could be. It could get here. It's pretty hard to shoot in the daytime. I've got some gear that can do that, which I'll take you through a bit later. But I much prefer to talk storms and photography while there's a storm outside. I just think you couldn't get a better time.
It's perfect. It was meant to be, because we were meant to have a chat yesterday. And so I'm gonna bring some photos in right now. Yeah, bro. So there you are, all with your gear ready to go, and that's an insane cloud formation. What do you call that cloud? Is that a I don't know.
Supercell.
I'm just making it up.
That's
Oh,
a
that's a supercell.
supercell. Yeah. So that was the first supercell that I got onto over in the States. I was really feeling really crook in that photo. But once we kind of got in front of it, my mate Brad and I, yeah, everything went. All that sickness, I was just so excited. Got up there. What you can't see is the wind. The outflow wind was extremely strong. But yeah, that was it. A big supercell, big rotating thunderstorm, huge hail and everything, and we just watched it pass straight by. Later that night, over there, chasing's very different to here. We chased it through Colorado to a little town called I think it was Burlington, and tornado sirens going off their head. That storm eventually rolled over us, and tornado warned. We had to go down into the basement, and yeah, just looked at my mate Brad and said, "Well, this is what we're here for. How good's this?"
Now, I quite often think with the US, when they have all the storm chasing and stuff like that, it sounds like their storms are much more severe than what we get. Is that correct, or they just make it
Yeah.
out more?
Yeah, no, they've got a big tract of land in the interior called Tornado Alley, and it's just to do with the geography of their country. You've got a lot of elevated areas in the interior, and a lot of cold air coming off the Rocky Mountains, mixing with a lot of the warm air from down in the Gulf, and you've got just the perfect conditions, I guess, to build these huge storms. So we get some monsters here, but the frequency over there, it's amazing. They can have thousands of these storms, hundreds of tornadoes a year. It's amazing.
They're right. That makes sense because I spend some time in Utah with my buddies, and like Alta and stuff like that. The boys always sit there and say, yeah, it creates its own weather pattern. So that makes a lot of sense with the mountain ranges.
Yeah,
Every time I talk to you, I learn more.
well, I'm learning every day. Like, I'm no meteorologist. I'm trying to figure out the science behind the storms all the time. I think I've got the photography nailed, but the science behind it is another thing entirely. Some of these storm chasers are really heavy on the meteorology. They know where the storms are, where they're going to be at days in advance. I'm a little bit more of a novice in that area, but I'm getting better. But if you can combine the two, the photography and the storm prediction, then you've got it nailed. And there's only a handful of guys like that who are really good at predicting, really good at getting in front of the storm in the right kind of area, and they've got the skills to take the shot too. So
Yeah, right.
I guess that's the dream. Yeah.
Hey, well, while we're at it, let's have a look at us. This is your early days.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful portrait of it. What eagle is that? Is that
Peregrine falcon.
I was about to say falcon. You think I'd know?
Yeah.
I did this chat with a mate of mine who's a bird photographer the other day, and it's like I got 3 bird names right out of like 50, and I almost said falcon.
It's tricky. It's hard to pick. I've got an app that goes through all the different species and everything. Sometimes when you get the photo, it takes like half an hour of deliberation to find the correct one. But that was a peregrine falcon, so they're the fastest animal on the planet, and that was about an hour and a half from where I live, hiking with a mate and looking for eagles. And I got up to the top of this cliff face, and there was a pair, and they were kind of hunting back and forth and dive bombing, and that was 45 minutes of shooting, high burst rate on a D810 to nail a shot where he's looking me dead down the barrel of the lens. I remember I was so stoked, and just years of practice to try and learn how to shoot birds like that, and then just finding them. They're much harder than storms. Birds in flight, raptors, very hard.
It's just a beautiful, beautiful portrait of one hell of a handsome creature. I mean, it's just perfect. Everything about that shot is perfect. It's quite breathtaking, really. And then exactly what you said, to have him like totally clock you. And it is tricky.
Yeah.
It's one of the trickiest things to photograph of anything, because of, they pick up some air, and they could be in any direction. It's not like they fly in the same area, right?
They actually pull their kind of wings back and go into this torpedo formation. I've got a couple of those shots as well. But just the panning of the long lens, that was a 300 prime 2.8 with a 2x teleconverter. So I'm looking through the barrel at 600 mil and trying to track this thing that's tiny in the viewfinder. And then luckily the D810 was, high res, 36 meg, so I could crop down and sharp enough for me. But very, very tricky to nail that shot. I remember uploading it, and Chris Dodds, who's a pro birds in flight photographer from Canada, he'd never commented on any of my work, and he just wrote, "Nice shot." And I was like, that'll do me. How good is that?
It's so nice hearing from photographers that you look up to that give you a little comment. And you're that guy now, being a Z creator. People look up to your work, and including myself, and which is why I wanted to chat to you. And it just blows me away. And I'm going to bring in a storm. Oh, come on, I'm going to be saying that a lot.
Yeah, this was
just ridiculous.
It's still that one's on my wall. That was the first one I framed, and that did it for me. That picture, I caught. I nearly missed it. So I saw it on radar, and I texted a mate and I said, do you want to come and shoot this storm? It looks pretty good. Not really having any idea what was going to happen. And he was, screwing around, trying to get his gear together. And I got him in the car, and we got up to this lookout point near my place, which I'm really lucky to live nearby, because we've got all this huge vantage point of the coast. Yeah. And I shoot a lot of storms from there. And we were both scurrying around. It was really hard to get a park, lots of people taking photos. And in the traditional landscape style, he was trying to get a foreground composition, moving around to try and get some rocks or a tree in the foreground. I literally stood in the middle of the car park with cars moving near me, handheld, and shot that because I was just in awe, blown away by what the storm was doing. It was shifting rapidly. It looked like it had this big tongue, coming out. It was just amazing. When I got that photo, I submitted it into a competition overseas, and I beat about 12,000 people to win the comp. Yeah, and that kind of set the foundation. I thought, okay, I really enjoy this type of photography. The rush you get, the unknown aspect. You can shoot an incredible mountainscape and sunrise, but with a storm, it's a one-off. You're never going to see it again. So
no, you're never ever going to photograph the same thing twice.
No, I mean, you can photograph a storm in different light. A mountain in different light. Some amazing cloud formations and sunsets. I love all that stuff. I love landscape photography, but with storms, you're seeing a wild side of nature that's so fleeting. And dangerous at the same time. It is just an addiction, a rush. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, it's a transient landscape, isn't it? It's always on the move. It's pretty amazing. It looks like a stingray to me, just so you know.
Yeah, I called it lungcata, which is the Aboriginal word for blue tongue lizard. I've called it lots of things. I called it dragon's tongue, and I thought, oh, that's a bit, dramatic. I've called it lots of things.
It's a beautiful image, and I love a black sky too. It's just gorgeous. And I was thinking this morning about our conversations the other night. Oh, see, there you go. Hold on, I'm going to just get distracted the whole time. Right now, daytime storm like this, apart from the fact that this is just an absolutely sensational landscape on its own, how the hell do you capture that lightning light? Are you using filters and stuff, or is it just kind of a little bit lucky? There's got to be a trick, bud.
There's a trick.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's
on
called
your camera.
Lightning trigger. Yeah, lightning trigger. So what it does, that when lightning strikes, there's actually a number of what they call return strokes. So lightning isn't just one single event. You've got the initial connection, and then a number of return strokes, which a high-speed trigger like a lightning trigger or Myops trigger or Pluto trigger, they actually identify that first stroke and they pick up on the return strokes and they trigger the shutter. So the only really reliable way, it's amazing technology, but pretty simple when you think about it. The trigger picks up the return stroke, triggers the shutter, and there you have it. That shot was fantastic. It was such a great shot to capture. I'd always wanted to get a really strong daytime bolt like that. The downburst of rain with all the cloud structure was amazing. But the funny thing about this shot, I was so enraptured by the scene, what I was seeing, and how quickly it started to turn angry, and put out these bolts. I got this bolt, and then I was framing up for what I was hoping was the next big bolt. And then it happened. It shot out of this storm, not directly down, but straight out, and landed, I don't know, it could have been 150 meters from where I was standing.
Wow.
And huge bang, scared the hell out of me. And I was shooting with about 5 other guys. And when I turned around to say, did you guys see that? They were all bunkered down in the car already. I hadn't even noticed them bail. They left after that bolt, the one that's on the screen. And there's actually some funny video footage. They were filming me while I was out there, and their commentary is great. It's like, who is this lunatic with all these tripods standing in front of this storm? He's going to get killed.
By probably like less than a quarter mile. Oh, Jesus. It doesn't have us passing us for like 15 minutes. Oh, that's close. It's gonna be loud.
Dude, look at this fucking this.
But yeah, I ran and jumped into the car straight after that second bolt. I didn't catch it. I didn't get the second bolt. Mate of mine, kind of mentor as well, Mike, he got the second bolt. He had the same setup as me, the same trigger. He shot it 5/100ths of a second slower and got the bolt. It came down to that much. And wow. I think he titled that shot Widowmaker. You should look it up.
Yeah, well,
it's one of the best lightning shots I've seen. It's incredible. And I was so upset I missed it, but it was just it was a great memory from chasing over there, and a very close call.
Oh, because the ground strike is also very dangerous. When I was in the desert on a film many, many years ago, and it was surrounded by a small mountain range, and it was, iron ore.
Yeah.
And this storm was coming across, and you could see it was really unique. I've never seen anything like it. And it was like the lightning, and our set was actually a big metal tower. And you could watch the lightning searching it out. It was really weird. And then we had this strike which went off similar to what you're just saying, 100, 150 meters. And it was in the desert, and the sand was dry, and it went up like an explosion, like a bomb. It was amazing. And then a whole lot of us got this ground strike or whatever it was, and we were sort of a little bit cramped up. But it's dangerous stuff that you're doing, right?
Yeah, what you're describing there, like out in the desert, it's like being out on the plains in the States. It's so flat, and you're like, I'm the tallest thing around here. I'm holding a carbon tripod or a metal tripod. It's dangerous. You can shoot a storm kind of two ways or three ways really, but you shoot it on approach. You can shoot it moving away from you. If you're insane, you can shoot it when it's directly overhead, but it's, that's how you get hit. So once it gets close, you've always got to have an escape route. Get in your car. That's the best thing. Get indoors. Having a bolt land 150 meters away. I've had one land closer, and you're tempting fate a bit. Yeah, it's always good too. But the trouble is as well, bolts can travel so far. They're not. You've heard of bolts from the blue. I mean, they can travel like 10 kilometers. It sounds, well, much longer than that. They've clocked them at, but it sounds like it wouldn't happen. But some of the photos I've been able to get, and I look at the length of these bolts, particularly the ones out at sea, and you can see the distance they're traveling based on the height of the cloud, and you think that is such a huge bolt. It can hit you from anywhere, so it's a risk you take.
So the safest place to be is actually in a car, correct?
Yeah. It has there's a scientific explanation for it. I think they call it a Faraday's cage. So when the lightning bolt hits the car, it kind of arcs out through the chassis and everything and grounds out. Something like that. I'm no scientist, but that's kind of what I've picked up. You're protected when you're in the car, but I've heard people say you need the windows wound up, you need your feet off the ground, don't touch anything metal. It's the safest place if that's all you've got. Yeah, the car.
Hey, back to what you were saying before, and this is another beautiful image. Is this the same location?
That is that's the cell you saw with me standing in front of it originally. Yeah, so I shot that in Colorado, and it was a beautiful supercell. It moved right across that landscape, and I shot that. That's a multi-pano, I think maybe 5 shots, because they're so big, and because you get close, you want to get close. The closer you get, the more detail, the more color. The better the lightning looks. But I went over there anticipating to use my pano kit. I used to shoot. I went over to Canada with some great photographers and learned how to shoot panos, big wide mountainscapes. And I was always thinking at the time, I really need to deploy this kind of approach in storm photography to get the full scope of the storm. This one was picked up by Nat Geo in their Nat Geo Your Shot, and one of the editors just commented on how a storm looks really good at this ultra wide aspect when you can see the whole thing, all the dynamics in play.
So you said this is a pano. Is this several frames or?
5 frames, yeah. So shot vertically with a pano head and just moving. I might have been left to right, right to left. I normally just kind of pan back and forth as it changes. It's constantly shifting, so it's a high pressure thing. When they look that good, you're just filling your not filling your buffer. You're not shooting quick enough to fill your buffer, but you're taking a lot of images. You don't take a shot and then stand back and admire it. That's the problem. You're so caught capturing because it's constantly changing.
So what lens is this?
I think that was a 16 to 35 f4. I probably would have been on the 16. I think I would have shot it at 16. Yeah, it was very, very close. It doesn't look that close relatively, but it was pretty close. So I got the 16 mil, and then went vertical, and went probably right to left maybe. But
I wish you had your 14 to 24.
they're huge. Yeah, well, I think I might have had that on my other camera. At that stage, I borrowed a D700. It might have been the 750. I can't remember, but I borrowed one off Nikon. I wrote them a big letter saying, I was going over there and I wanted a second camera body, and they were great. Yeah, they hooked me up, and I set it up, and I think I had my trigger hooked up to the other camera, trying to capture some lightning. And yeah, really, when you're out there, I've tried to shoot storms with one camera, and sometimes that's all you've got. But two camera bodies, amazing. A couple of my mates shoot with three, and I don't know how they do it. But yeah, I'm a two camera man at the moment.
I love it. And come on. Damn you and your photographs. See, I love this enthusiasm that you have. Your photography isn't your full-time job; it's your love. And someone like myself, photography is what puts the food on the table. And you guys have this pure love of photography, and I get a little bit jealous of it actually, and that's why I like chatting to you guys so much, because it's infectious. And seeing these images, oh my gosh. And then the other night you and I was like texting back and forth about, how do I do this, how do I do that, and it's like it's
look west.
Look west. And I posted a couple of photos, and people were like, no way, you don't normally do this, what's going on? And I go, I've got a guy, my mate Will, I've been texting him all night.
Yeah.
And he's
whatever
telling
you want.
me, look, what exposure to set it at, absolutely everything. I didn't do anything. All I did was point the camera, and he's telling me exactly what to do. And they were like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, no, seriously, go and have a look at his Insta page. And then, so it's a lot of fun. But I do have a quick question on the daylight stuff, because that was doing my head in the other day.
Yeah.
And you've got your lightning
trigger.
Mm-hmm. Can it pick that up during the day in such bright light?
Yeah. So I mean, you've got to be close to make the bolt kind of worthwhile. But you primarily use the trigger in the daytime. That's what they're designed for. So when you get a storm that's close enough, you have normally the top of the cloud, the top of the storm, the anvil, or the upper part of that cumulonimbus. There you go. I wasn't going to say it, but I said it. Kind of blocking out the sun, hopefully, so it can leave you in a bit of shadow and allow you to shoot at different shutter speeds. But yeah, if you're in really bright conditions, I shot a storm on the weekend where the sun was hitting me directly and the storm was just offshore, and it was pretty hard to shoot in. Trying to shoot at, say, 1/60th of a second to try and capture daytime lightning, whereas I normally want to shoot at about 1/20th, 1/30th. Right. So yeah, daytime's the time to do it with a trigger. Once it gets dark, all those three images you've got there, they were all shot. I think the top one was shot with a trigger, and the bottom two were long exposures. Long exposures are just, I guess they're more reliable. You're going to, the trigger will pick up a lot. It'll pick up bolts in the cloud that you can't see, intra-cloud lightning, or sheet lightning, or whatever you want to call it, that you can't actually see. It will just trigger. And with your long exposure, it's purely visual. So anything you get within that exposure, you're going to capture, as long as it's bright enough. So you can see in the middle image, that's kind of the perfect exposure between sunset and the lightning and everything like that. Whereas in the final frame, which was just mind-bending what it looked like, I was exposing for the stars more than anything to try and get that into frame. And the bolt, although it's really far offshore, it's blown out. But I wasn't really looking for the bolts at that distance. I just wanted the whole thing to light up, which it did.
Man, look, talking about your stuff on the weekend, the old Will Eades storm photography factory was in full overdrive on the weekend, buddy. It's like
I was so tired.
You were like posting. I was like looking at shots, and I'm like, hold on, this is all from the same weekend. This is just nuts. Like, absolutely destroyed.
I was tired by the end of it.
I can imagine, actually.
I had to get my quota.
Oh, I mean, this is just gorgeous. Sorry, I just get speechless because in these the storm shots of yours, and that I've only discovered you recently, but I'm a massive fan. I got to say, man, it's like every one of your shots, I can spend 10 minutes looking around because there's something completely different. You don't get that in a video.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's crazy what the camera can pick up, and I guess the brilliant part about being able to freeze these moments is they are split seconds. You've got lightning is so fast, and it lights up so many different aspects of the storm. Which this was complete darkness when we were shooting. You couldn't see anything. It was just black. So you've got all these bolts, this deep rumble of thunder. It's getting closer and closer. This is the last shot I took before we pretty much ran for the car. So top right of frame, you've got some, a little bit of lightning there kind of pumping out. There was a bolt that landed kind of over my shoulder at the same time. So it was all around us, but you can see the greens. You can see that it's almost like dust underneath that's been pulled in from the mainland or something. I don't know, but it was some unique colors in this storm, and sent it into the Bureau of Meteorology. They loved it. They put it on their calendar.
That's so cool. Now, do you when you make the big run for the car, do you leave your gear out there to keep capturing?
I've done it before, but it depends what type of storm it is. So when there's an absolute deluge of rain, it's probably, even though everything's weather sealed, and I've never had a problem with my with my D810, D850, Z7, getting them wet, getting them in the rain, but I still don't like to do it. So I've done it before. I've left it out when there's reasonable rain. But the big problem is, as soon as you get a drop on the lens, it's kind of over. I mean, take that shot. If you had a big raindrop in the middle of that bolt, it'd be ruined. So
you got to keep continually cleaning.
Cleaning the lens.
Keep continually cleaning the front element, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. Either that, or I've got a mate who holds an umbrella over the top, which is dangerous in itself. Kind of like holding a lightning rod over your head, I guess. But that's one of my favorite shots. I
love these bolts that are just like smashing into the ocean. It is just absolutely amazing.
It had everything. It was close. I nailed the sharpness. It had all the water lighting up, and that cool cloud structure. It was amazing. I just love how it arcs around the edge of that cloud, though. I think that's so cool.
I know, right?
Yeah,
It's just
and lightning
bizarre.
does that. It does weird things. It dodges things, or it reaches out and hits things. You see some of the some of the other photographers, and I'm always looking at other photographers' work, for inspiration and just to see, what they come up with. It's such a funny community, storm chasers. But there's this great one I've seen where it's kind of traveling across the sky and then it stops dead and just goes directly down in a straight line.
Really?
So many, just like it's just decided, okay, I'm gonna hit the ground now. One a guy captured in Australia only a few days ago. It was kind of going down towards the ground, and then it just did a big loop back up into the sky, like it didn't want to make contact. So,
Really?
it does groovy things. It does really different things. But this one was, it was a magic strike. I had a guy with me at the time who I was, giving a few to. He's a great photographer in his own right, but we've been talking storms for a while, and when we both got this shot, and I said, "What do you think of that?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I think I got it." And I looked at him and I was like, "I don't think you realize what you just captured. Like, that is such a rare thing to nail." That's framed on my wall as well. I love that shot. It's one of probably my favorite lightning strike.
It's biblical. It's just so damn epic. Oh my gosh. It's like, just, come on. I see, every time I want to ask you a question, I go on to something else and I can't. This is just insane.
That was 14 mil.
That's 14 mil. No way.
Yeah, so it was
that's
a lot closer than what you think. And yeah, that kind of crawler up on the right stole the show. But I shot this at two focal lengths. I got it at 14 and I got it at 50. I think I gave you the one at 50 as well. And the 50's in, it's just a little bit sharper, a little bit more detail, I think. But you can't beat the 14 capturing that whole strike. This was a really active storm, just strike after strike after strike, which is what you want. You can, a hard thing with storm photography is nailing focus. You're out in these dark environments, and daytime bolts are great because you can kind of focus on whatever you want. But nighttime in these dark environments, I mean, if that bolt wasn't there, there's nothing to look at. It's so dark. So to nail focus is really hard. I think what I did here, I think I turned my camera to the north. This is looking south, so I turned to the north, put it onto autofocus, and the D850 locked onto this really distant boat, I think it was, out at sea, and locked onto that, then went to manual, and then went back to the storm. And that's a really cool little hack for people that are struggling to get focus at night in the dark. The 850, the 810, the 750, the Z mirrorless bodies, autofocus is amazing. So using that to lock onto an object that's at a similar distance is a really good way to go to nail focus for lightning.
Yeah, right. Wow, yeah, that's incredible. Manual focus, just off infinity?
Yeah, that's the other way to go. Go to manual, go to infinity, take it back a mil or so, and do a couple of test shots. But the problem, again, if you've got a storm like this, which is really active, know really quickly whether or not you're out of focus. If you're getting a bolt once every 5 minutes, it can be painful because you check the screen, you're out of focus. Then you've got to wait and wait and wait, and you might get, the mother of all bolts, and you're not in focus. So
why is that? Sometimes, like, when you get the sheet lightning, what did you call it? What's the technical term?
Intracloud.
Intracloud.
So, intracloud, yeah.
Which is a bit boring, right? Or can you get great shots of that?
Yeah, it's like cloud to cloud lightning, or lightning that doesn't hit the earth or the ocean. So if you've got kind cloud to ground. They're just called CGs. That's what we say in the community, CGs. So everyone wants a CG. They're impressive. So the one coming down from that Arcus cloud at the front, that's a CG, and you've got the crawler belting out the side there. Of course, that may have touched down over my head. I'm not sure. It could have, but yeah, any lightning can be spectacular, you know.
Yeah, but the ones that the crawlers that you're saying, this is all bolts, right? And then you've got intro, which is just
Cloud.
sheet, which is just like a flash.
Yeah, cloud to cloud lightning, but it can be up inside the cloud, so you can't actually see it. Cloud to ground could be obscured by rain or anything, you know, some scud cloud floating around, you know, ocean mist. I get that all the time. That's the bane of my existence. But yeah, if you get a clear atmosphere, you know, really clear conditions, any bolts can look great. But a crawler is basically, you know, something that just literally crawls across the sky. And some of the really cool ones you see on supercharged storms, they just float right across the sky. They look amazing. I haven't seen too many of them around here though. So
all lightning starts as a bolt, in other words?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Now I'm with you. See, I'm learning every time. I love talking to you. You just like fill me in. Oh, look at the light in that.
That was so cool. The pink of the lightning kind of played against the orange sunset on that rain shaft. So one of the things I did pick up over in the States, learning from my mate Mike, is that these rain shafts sometimes, or most of the time, they're a real focal point for lightning. So something to do with, you know, the hail or the rain or the friction in the atmosphere or whatever it might be. But you get a lot of bolts fly out of these rain shafts, these downpours, downbursts, whatever you want to call them. And I looked at it that afternoon. I saw a couple of flashes and I thought, that's where it's coming. So I locked onto it, and that was a triggered shot. And yeah, it was perfect. It's a great sunset.
So good. It's just intriguing that goes into it. And you say that you're not a scientist, but there is so much science behind it. And
there's so much.
You know, like the other day when you said to me, "Oh, you're going to get a storm tonight," and I'm like looking at the bomb radar, and it's like there's nothing there. And then what happens? I get a damn storm. You know, the other day when we're talking about it, I'm like looking on my weather bomb, and there's nothing. And you're like, Jace, you're going to get this storm, blah blah blah. And it's like, really? And so you've done this to me 3 times now, and this is days in advance.
I think you're getting one in a couple of days again. Basically, you've got 3 kind of levels of prediction. You've got forecasts, kind of long and short-term forecasts, which are put out by professional meteorologists, amateur meteorologists. That's something that I'm definitely not up with yet. I'm trying to learn, you know, week to week, but that's advanced stuff. There's guys in Australia like Brad Hannon down in Melbourne. You know, he's checked models before, driven 8 hours north and put himself in front of just spectacular supercells. The guy's a freak. Amazing work. But to come at it from my, you know, level or your own level, there's forecasts that you can look up online and just see what's coming. You know, early warning network does a great. They've got a great service. They put up updates kind of every day and tell you what's coming. About 9:30 a.m. they'll tell you what's happening. There's other sites that give you, you know, a week, 10 days in advance. It all changes day to day, but that's your early kind of forecast, and that's where I'm getting that information from. Then you've got radar. So radar will show you what's happening, you know, all around the country at any given time. And radar's terrific. I can see the height of clouds, when they're growing, the direction of travel. That's really handy to get yourself into position. Other apps like I use one called Lightning Tracker. That's fantastic. That I've got that set up so that if there's a bolt that comes down, within 50 kilometers, I get a little alert. So I don't have to always keep watching the radar. I can get into my work, and then this little alert goes off, and I check. I look at the radar, and I go, oh, okay, there's a little cell, 60 kilometers to the south. What direction is it going? No, it's not going to come near me, or it's coming straight for this point. So if it's close by, I'll jump in the car and go out. There's the third kind of level is visual. So learning what type of what cloud types are, and what convection is, and watching the atmosphere kind of build up into these big towering cumulonimbus clouds, and thinking, okay, storm's coming, seeing a storm move in a certain direction, and putting yourself in the right position. That's something I'm still trying to get my head around as well. There's a lot of dynamics at play, and particularly with the guys over in the States, they can identify all the different aspects of a supercell storm, and they know where to be, when to leave, the time when it becomes dangerous. And for a layperson to go out and try and insert themselves into that dangerous environment, it's not smart. You need to, for the States, you really need someone that knows what they're doing. And that's what I did. I hooked up with other people that I'd met. Yeah, so I've got a network over there now, and I can go over and hook up with people that chase storms professionally.
Damn it, lost you again.
You
think it's a storm?
I think it might be this storm. I've got one that, well, it's intensifying. Look, it's getting close.
Ooh, it is. It certainly is.
I don't even know what it looks like out there, but if I look out and it looked epic, that'll be a problem.
Yeah, I know, right? This shot with all these stars, oh my gosh, it's just... Now, you were telling me earlier, and you're telling me the other night as well, that you expose for the stars. And you use a clear sky filter or something. What brand do you use? It's really amazing.
No, I had I forget what. I think I just had.
Oh, damn, lost you.
Must be my internet because this storm's coming close.
If you can still hear me.
I can hear you now. It's probably because this storm's inbound and it's messing up with my signal or something.
Right. That's so funny. We're getting all this storm interference, eh? But so where we were before, we were interrupted by a massive storm, which is probably going to be some of the greatest photographs you're going to get tonight. The stars.
Yes. Nothing sets off a storm shot like some stars, if I can get them. But this was, I think this was 14 to 24 I shot this with. I think it could have been 16 to 35, but high ISO, to bring the stars out. And the bolt that's back over the ocean, that's obviously blown out. But the idea is just to light up that cloudscape, which was just amazing. That curve that goes through the sky and up into the stars, all natural, When I stitched this pano together and saw that in the middle of frame there was almost like a counter to that arc, almost like they were coming up to meet. You can't really. It's like I've tried to design it myself. It was it's a really special moment. Yeah, you've got a anchor, I think the star's called, really bright up the top, and then you've got the small Magellanic Cloud, I think, is center frame. That's a distant galaxy, Milky Way over on the right, and just this crazy stormscape in the middle. It was phenomenal.
Because the Milky Way looks like it's a storm itself.
Yeah, you've got to kind of look to take it all in, which I really like about these wide, expansive shots. You know, there's so much there to kind of keep you busy when you're looking, and yeah, a lot of people like this shot because it's so busy.
Yeah, it's like looking at a city. It's so much to look at. And you were saying before, which I didn't understand, why you shoot high ISO for the stars.
So, shooting it to try and bring out the Milky Way, you've got to go high, relatively high ISO. And I mean, I could have shot this at, say, 30 seconds, but the problem you have then is the clouds start to take on too much of a soft appearance. So to nail the exposure, I've got to get a relatively, sensibly long shutter speed, which in this case would have been probably 10 seconds, maybe 15. But if you go too much longer, if you're up around 20 seconds, the clouds are going to look soft and you're going to start to get star trails. So the stars won't be pinpoints. They'll actually be little lines. So with my shutter maxing it around, say, 15 seconds, my aperture, which would have been opened right up to let in as much light as possible, well, then the only thing that I've got left is to crank that ISO up to get my stars nice and bright. The Milky Way is so far away and so distant that you really need, you can't be scared of going high with these, D850s and D810s and Z7s and Z6s. The ISO and the clarity you can get out of these star shots are amazing.
And what aperture are you talking?
This would have been probably 2.8. Might have been f4. I'd have to check the lens I shot it with. I would say it's probably a 2.8. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And
Astro's
blown away.
Astro's another passion.
Wow,
it doesn't come close to storms, but Astro's great.
When you combine them like this, it's just absolutely astounding.
Astro and storms, yeah. If you get lucky enough to get a storm and stars in the same shot. So that's a supercell coming straight at us, that one.
Look at the light. Look at the color of that. The greens and the blue. Oh my gosh.
That underbelly was green, and you couldn't see that, 2 minutes prior. You have to get close, and the other kind of orange light on the underbelly, that's all from the sunset. Yep. That orange behind is just the sunset. Oh. And yeah, that was a large supercell near Ord, Nebraska. I have seen footage of a brief tornado that got put down shortly after we fled that scene. So this was pretty much the last shot I took, and then we bailed. We got in the car and got out of there. It was moving straight at us. So just a different type of experience. Those storms over there are so big. When that went over the top of us, we got what you call the whale's mouth. So it's like this big lip of the storm, and you get to see up inside this giant structure. It feels like you're being swallowed. And we were doing, we actually got pulled over by the police, or our friends did. They were in front of us. They got pulled over by the police because we were doing, 100 miles an hour trying to get away from that monster. It was tornado warned, and you just don't want to be in front. You want to be beside it. If you can shoot a storm, an isolated storm from the side, that's normally the best place to be. You watch it go straight past.
So it's drifting past you. Yeah, that'd be ideal.
Just like just like anything, I guess, like wildlife or sports. It's good to have something coming straight at you, but you can only stay there for so long.
Yeah. Oh, come on! This looks like one of Ray Collins' ocean shots. This is amazing.
That was a recent one. And it's much more minimalist than my regular shots, but that's a roll cloud. So I've got a little bit of
I mean, it looks
footage of
like
it,
a
and you can
wave.
see it. Yeah, it builds upon itself like a roll moving backwards, and they're an accessory cloud to severe storms, so they form off to the
Oh,
side. And that one was huge. That was absolutely massive. I shot that at about 200 mil to just to give you that sense of scale. But that's one cloud, and I just love how the light kind of slices it in half. It almost looks like two clouds having a race.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. This looks like just like, a mountain like Everest or something, just absolutely crazy. It's quite a phenomenal image, this. It's just so beautiful. There's so much going on. There's so many layers to it. It's something
Yeah, it's not
else.
as busy. It's not as busy.
Come on, stop it. That's just nuts.
That was
Sorry.
Montana. That's all right. That was
Oh my
Montana.
God.
So that was talking of getting your focus right and not being able to see anything in the dark. Well, that storm wasn't putting out a lot of bolts, but it was isolated, so we got to watch it move past our frame. But I nearly missed those bolts because I'd been trained on the same section of storm for maybe 10 minutes, and I was hoping that a big positive bolt would fly out of the right-hand side, and what I got was those 3 CGs dropped from underneath in that hail dump, which is normally where they come from. But what really set it off was that car driving through the scene.
Yeah. I mean,
just going,
what are the chances?
Yeah, it was. That always happens though. You're out and you're shooting, and you've got all these elements lining up, and then suddenly something just pops in, something extra that sets it off. That's happened to me so many times. The unpredicted element that comes in at the end.
Oh,
I've got a mate down in Melbourne, Rob, and he's always into me about it. Always getting some meteorological phenomena, jagging something, some kind of water spout or odd bolt or astronomical thing. Yeah, he gets really annoyed. I invited him out to Lake.
You're one of those guys that was kissed on the butt by an angel, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. I invited him out to Lake Tyrrell to shoot this salt flat and to get some stars. I think you've got that image as well. I said, yeah, okay, let's meet. It's 3 hours from where you're at. I was going down there for work, and he opted out. He looked at the forecast and he said, "No, it's going to be cloudy. I'm not going to go." And so I went out by myself. Yeah, so I trudged out there in the dark, alone because he wouldn't come out and meet me there, and I got right out of the middle of this salt flat, which had turned into nearly like a mud flat from the rain, and I wanted to get the Milky Way reflecting off the water on the top of the salt flat. That was the plan, and it was freezing cold. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to drive an hour and a half west to get out to it. And when I set up to shoot, I got this phenomenon called air glow up in the sky, which came out as a red in this instance. It can come out like a green, similar to like aurora, but very faint. Right. And it comes out in a long exposure. So I got this red air glow. I couldn't believe it. I'm sending this guy texts saying, this is what you've missed out on. And then I did a pano round to the right, and another kind of phenomenon appeared, which was the zodiacal light, which is this beam of light that shoots up from the eastern horizon before sunrise, and it's the sun hitting some kind of interplanetary dust or something. Really, really cool. And when you look at the expanse of that image, yeah, there's just so much going on. But Rob hated me for it. He was like, I can't believe you go out and jag all these awesome things. And I said, dude, you should have been there with me.
Yeah, if you snooze, you lose. If you're not there, you can't get it. Hey, with
That's right.
at the bottom of the cloud, it's got I don't know whether it's rain or whatever it is, but it goes into an arc off to the right. Is that rain, or is it cloud, or is it exposure? What's caused that?
It's rain, and it's I would say it's to do with the outflow winds from the storm. So like all the wind kind of rushing out. It was moving off to the left of frame. So yeah, I would say it's outflow winds kind of pushing down and out from the storm.
Right.
Hits the lots of
beautiful.
Lots of dynamics at play. Just above that, you've got like an updraft where the storm's kind of sucking everything up into it.
It's just incredible. Oh, there's your trigger there.
Yeah, so that's the setup I had on the weekend. Cool little cell off the coast, and I think that was the 14 to 30 f4 on the Z, and the trigger on top. That's on the hot foot, and yeah, just hoping for a bolt. On this day, I didn't catch anything. There was a couple of bolts way out, but nothing close by. What you wanted, what I wanted was something to, arc down and land right in the middle of that frame in the water.
Yeah.
With all the structure behind it. But there's so many shots like that where I go out and I've got the idea in my mind about what I want, where I want the bolt to land. Yeah. And there's a lot of luck in it. There's a lot of luck where you're hoping that it will happen, and most of the time it doesn't. But yeah, as you say, you've got to, if you snooze, you lose. When you're out there shooting and you do get the bolt, well, you're hooked for another 4 or 5 years.
Well, that's it. If it was that easy, then, come on, I've got to stop doing this. I've got to stop asking a question while I'm flicking through.
Well, that was good timing. That was good timing, because this is the example of when it paid off. So there was about 5 of us shooting this scene, and I had two cameras pointed in this direction, basically because there was a bolt that landed, would have been probably 7 or 8 kilometers away, and I'd trained everything on that area, hoping to get something else, and this bolt landed right in front of us. So my ISO was set a little bit too high, as you can tell. I think that was ISO 200. So it's still extremely low, but I probably had my f-stop at f8. I should have been up at, say, f16, ISO 64, as low as I could get, even f22 pinhole, just to try and bring that exposure right down, because it was so close and so bright. But that would be about 20% of that lightning bolt. It was huge. It went right up into the sky. And when I showed my mate, and I was really bummed that it was blown out in the center, he said, dude, just own it. He said it was so powerful. It was such a big, like, super bolt that hit. Trying to get the exposure on that thing correct in a split second, you've just got to be so lucky. But I was lucky in the composition. That tree really set it off perfectly. And yeah, it looks like one of those leaders is nearly kind of coming down trying to connect with the tree, but
it does.
Yeah, it was good. And at that point, when the bang went off, everyone grabbed their gear and ran straight for the car.
I couldn't even tell you if it's day or night.
Yeah, well, if you saw the color image, the black and white has less. There's a little bit of fringing and a few things going on with the color image, but the color image looks like daytime.
That's just amazing.
It's just so bright.
Absolutely amazing. Oh, you just can't get sick of looking at this stuff.
That was the 50 mil version of that crawler shot that we talked about earlier.
Yeah. Right.
Mm.
Running the two cameras.
So you can just see a little bit more detail with the front of that Arcus cloud there, and the 14 to the 14 to 24 really nailed the whole scene. But yeah, I'm pretty partial to the 50 mil. Everything's a lot sharper in that 50 mil scene, but you got to running multiple focal lengths at the same time is a blessing. It's amazing when you can shoot something at 50 and something at 14. You increase your chances of getting the shot. It's sometimes you get a bolt that's too far away, that's at 14, and you think, if only I was zoomed in. I got sick of doing that too much. So now it's two cameras.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you doing workshops for Nikon as well, or?
No, I talked to them about it. It's pretty hard to. I mean, I could have jumped in the car and we could have met on the weekend and chased some storms and done some things like that. But work kind of keeps me grounded. I'd have to book time in. I've got a mate over in WA who's going up into the Kimberley soon, and he's going to be chasing storms up there. That could be an option. Do like a Nikon school up in the north somewhere. There's some storms up there that are very regular, so you definitely could get onto those storms and teach. But that's why Tornado Alley is so good.
Right.
You're pretty much guaranteed that somewhere in the States at that time of year there's going to be a storm, and guys go over there and they're there for a couple of weeks and they can shoot multiple tornadoes.
Yeah, I guess the only way that you can really do it, because of the risk of not getting a storm, is to combine it with the astrophotography, right? And then with the hope that you're going to be able to encounter a storm at the same time, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've run a lot of astro tutorials, and I've done a couple of storm tutorials, but they're just harder to predict. You have someone turn up and you don't get anything, or it's all rain wrapped and embedded and not really photogenic. Plus, if it's ultra photogenic, I'm going to be no good at teaching anyway. I'm just going to be focused on my own camera, But
this could be one
maybe
of my
one day.
favorite photographs. Yeah, maybe one day. This could be one of my favorite photographs. It's like a lighthouse. It's just astounding.
Yeah, that got featured in the Australian. I was really proud of that one. It was a distant line of storms and nothing was happening. There was tiny little flashes, and even the bolt itself, if you zoom in on that, isn't very impressive at all. But what it did do was it lit up the ocean. There was no moon. It was new moon, so it was ultra dark. The ocean was just black. It lit up that strip of ocean, and it got this great blue glow above the storm. And of course, the core of the Milky Way was on the rise. It was coming up. There's some faint red air glow to the right, and it just all worked. It balanced. So I think it was like 400 shots to nail that bolt. So a lot of time spent shooting the Milky Way with not much going on, little tiny flashes, and then one big one to nail the shot on the night.
Which would have been a beautiful shot anyway, but I get what you're saying. It's like you look at the great astro shots and they've all got a structure of some sort, and it's very rarely you see one like this with a storm, though.
It was pretty special, yeah, to get one that bright and in the perfect spot under the Milky Way. And to be honest, it was the storm that got me out there, and the Milky Way wasn't planned to be over the top. It was very lucky. But of course, when I saw it, yeah, the ISO went straight up.
Yeah, right. Oh gosh. I mean, it's just all so different. It's, I noticed that, some of the locations are very similar, if not, you've got a couple of favourite locations by the look of it, but it's always completely different. It's
yeah, it's been amazing what you can see just from the same location with different conditions, and having that was way offshore, that storm. With work, being kind of restricted to traveling, I've had to adapt in many ways. A lot of storm chasers will follow a storm, for hours, but living on the coast, I can't really follow them out to sea without a boat, and I don't think I would even if I had a boat. So, using telephotos like this to capture storms offshore, it's just so much fun. That's a positive bolt, shooting out of the top of the storm, and
you've said that a couple of times, and I know that I won't be the only rookie watching this. So, what's a positive bolt? What are you?
So you've got positively and negatively charged areas of the storm. The top of the storm is positively charged, and the base is negatively charged. So any bolt that you'll hear a bang now. That was close. The base of the storm, anything that drops out of the base of the storm, anything that drops out of the base of the storm, like that one, is a negative bolt, and 90% are negative. Anything that shoots out of the top of the storm is positive, and they're often much more powerful. And to reach from the top of the storm to actually ground out and hit the ground, that they arc, so they shoot right out, and they're often the most photogenic positive bolts. So that's what we all pray for. We all want a positive bolt.
Wow. I'm learning so much. I hope everyone else is too. I'm sure they are. Oh, God. So what lens is this? Now I'm really intrigued, because I would never imagine that you're shooting this stuff on 14 mils and stuff like that.
That's a 20. That's a 20 mil. So 20 mil 1.8 Z, the new one that came out, and it is so sharp. But yeah.
How good is that S-class?
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best. I've been playing with 70 to 200. Yeah, it's so good. I'm really impressed.
It's
the sharpness is amazing.
The sharpness is amazing, and there's something about the contrast and the color pop. There's something more to it, and I know that the lens. I know that the element configuration is different, and for me, I'm shooting a lot into light, and as much as I love 1.4s and everything like that, they are so wide that it actually creates sometimes too much flare for me. And with the 1.8, with the 85 and the 50, they're thinner, so I'm not getting the flare that I'd normally get shooting straight into a light.
Well, this was shot straight into There's like 7 bolts in that shot that came out at the same time. They all just went bang, 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 bang at once. And no flare. There's a tiny little bit blown out right in the center, but you can't really tell unless you're zooming right in. But everything was sharp. All the bolts, you can see the points of impact. That 20 mil is one of my favorite new lenses. I love it. But yeah, I nearly missed this one too. I shot a storm earlier in the day, and then drove out there when it was meant to be all over. There was a couple more flickers, and I set up with this big rain dump, and this thing just unleashed 7 bolts at once. So the clouds really made the shot. I love the all the light and all the textures and structure in that cloud above it. But all the rain dumping and the lightning within, so cool.
Your son Jack is going to have so much fun going on camping trips and everything with Dad.
Oh yeah,
look at that.
He's got to learn.
So that's a positive.
Yeah, yeah, that's like a little positive shooting at the top. That's right. And although it
It's
didn't, that's as far
phenomenal.
as it got. Yeah, that's as far as it got. But that little system is so isolated. It just it was mind blowing how isolated that storm was. Oh,
There's a lot of thought that goes into your photography because, I haven't seen your just landscape photography, but you are an extremely accomplished landscape photographer. And then when you throw in your storms and your astro, it's like you're three different photographers in one. It's quite an astounding skill you've got. And man, I'm just honestly, I love your work, and you know that. And this is a real treat for me. And I do these interviews a little bit selfishly, because I talk to the people that I really want to have a chat to that you can't do in a pub. You know what I mean?
yeah, I know what you mean, and I really appreciate what you're saying, man. It's I've been a huge fan of your work for ages.
Oh,
If
really?
only I could get on a movie set. Yeah, I've been following your work for a while.
Oh, cool. Thanks, man. We'll have to organise it.
I'm a movie buff.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, it's my second
We'll have to do a
passion.
print swap.
I'm keen. But yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
little
amazing.
storm there was incredible. I'm notoriously lazy with my foregrounds, so a lot of guys will run around and try and get that foreground interest. But I've just learned in the past that you can get a really spectacular landscape storm shot, but having having the time and trying to nail it, you're also risking missing the shot if you take too much time and effort. When you're chasing, a lot of the time as well, is there's you don't know the area, you don't know, you can't just go up and frame the Matterhorn in front of a storm. You need to work with what you've got, and that's normally dirt roads or a farmstead or some cattle, in these flat rural areas. So it's tricky on the coast. A lot of people try and crawl around and get into rocky outcrop areas and frame different compositions. But I'm pretty lazy when it comes to that. I focus on the storm.
Yeah, I like the way that you just use the landscape to frame it. To be honest. Otherwise, I think too much is going to distract from what the main event is. Just that flow that you've got around the coastline there. To me, that's perfect. It gives a little bit of
That was
gives a
enough
flow
with
to
that
frame.
shot. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
enough. And
absolutely.
if I'd taken time to crawl around and do things, I would have missed that shot. It threw out maybe 4 or 5 of those little tiny bolts at the top, but that was the winner.
Oh, it's amazing. Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. That's that twisty cloud again. What do you call that?
It is. You just call it an Arcus cloud or a shelf cloud, but I mean, if you take a close look, that's out of focus. That was one of my first shots of a really severe storm and out of focus. So lesson learned. I mean, I was shot at handheld. I think it was 1 second to try and get a bolt, and it's something I wouldn't even attempt these days. But what I wouldn't give to relive that moment, with what I know now. That was 2013.
Oh man, I don't know. I think that movement and everything really
Oh,
does something for it.
the leading lines with the waves is just crazy.
Oh, it's just gorgeous. I mean, look at that. It's just amazing. Do you surf as well? Are you a man of the ocean?
No, I'm not. I'm not. I was too afraid of sharks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you say so, folks, but I don't see that. And like we're saying, those lines of the waves, it's just, I think the handheld just does something for me because it just looks like movement. Anyway, I love it. But as a photographer, I get exactly what you're saying.
Always criticizing your own work.
Well, totally. I do the same thing.
Mm.
Wow.
That was the first strike of the night, that one.
It's just, so it's still picking up some sun. Is that what the colour's from? The pink?
Yeah, it's still picking up the sunset. And just watching that build, like what I was saying about the third kind of stage of predicting storms. I'm watching this storm build and I think, okay, that's getting up nice and high. It's getting to be a good size. It's probably going to put down some lightning. And saw a couple of internal flashes, and then I knew, all right, we're definitely on. Got my long lens on, went in. I think that was shot at 70 mil with the 70 to 200 f4, and nailed that first bolt. That was the best bolt of the night. But it's yeah, I can't wait to get the 70 to 200 2.8 onto one of these storms. I just got it yesterday. That's the box behind me. Yeah,
It's
and
so
I'm still waiting
beautiful.
on my 14 to 24. I want to get that on it as well. Just these new Z lenses are amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's sharp enough with the 70 to 200 f4, and that's with the FTZ mount adapter. But these Z lenses, yeah, all I'm seeing is good stuff. They're so sharp.
Yeah, they, like we were saying before, they pop. The color pops. There's more black in it. It's really quite something else what they've done. And with the mount, the way it's been explained to me with the Z mount, the flange depth is like 2 mil shorter to the sensor than any other camera out there. I believe. I think whether it's only FX sensor, I'm not sure, but it must be that stopping the light having to bend so much, which is just adding this new clarity to it. Look at that.
Yeah, I've been walking around shooting with the 70 to 200, and just the autofocus motor is so fast and so quiet. It's amazing. I've shot with the old 40 to 24 2.8 for years now. The new one, super light, smaller. I'm just gonna get this thing onto a storm. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah, I bet. I can't wait to see the shots. And I know Nikon's going to be pretty stoked to see some of your content with it all. So so the Holy Trinity's nearly complete, mate.
Well, I'm still looking at the 24 to 70, so I don't have that one yet. Normally shooting with like 50 prime, but it looks good. These zooms, these Trinity zooms, I can't fault them. I was always told starting out, primes are sharper, go primes, but I'm always switching primes out, in and out, in and out, in and out. 20, 1.8, that's great for astro because I can get right down to 1.8. There's a bit more thunder for you. But these zooms, just the utility in them, to be able to frame these shots on the fly, to not have to open up the camera and expose it to dust and rain and elements. And they're just built like tanks. You can, not that I want to drop one, but they're all solid as all hell. So I'm super excited to transition from all those primes to a couple of really good Holy Trinity zooms. And yeah, from what I've seen so far, I'm already really stoked, really impressed with what Nikon have done.
Oh, yeah, and, their legendary weather sealing, it goes through, enthusiast cameras all the way through to what we use. And exactly that. On a film set, I'm a bit of a luxury, but I try and not take my lenses off at all. I keep lenses on different bodies and, right down to primes. And, my whole dream, to tell you the truth, is just to have a body on the end of a lens so I don't have to open it up, especially, with what you're doing out in the elements with rain and wind and everything else. It's just amazing. Why is that blue, that sky? Yeah, there's that. This is so, it's absolutely so poignantly.
Did you see the
freaky.
flash? Did you see the flash?
No, because I was looking at my screen. I'll have to look at it
it's
later.
there. You'll have to go back and watch it. It's close. It's still going now.
This is killing you. I know. I'm so sorry. You while we're talking, keep in touch with your lads on what you're doing.
I'm checking the. I want to see how close that bolt was.
Well, everyone watching can go and have a look at all your amazing photographs on your Insta, and you have a web page.
Yeah, I've got my website, willeades.com. So
Right.
you can see all these images there for sale, and just scroll through them or whatever. Plus some tutorials that I do locally. Trying to figure out how to do tutorials online. I think that'd be a worthwhile kind of pursuit, and particularly for people that have followed my work from overseas. Been at me for a while to do these type of explanatory talks and things. So this is a good first step. Talking to you, you've
Yeah, thanks, mate.
got me talking,
Well,
which is good.
It's yours to use for whatever. Now, this is one of your shots from the weekend, right?
No, that's the first frame in that pano. So that's that one there, just behind me.
Yeah.
That's just zoomed in. So that's the first shot I got. And the trick with that bolt was about 8.2 k's away. That bolt. The trick with that type of shot, the pano shot, is to frame up the bolt first. So you nail the bolt, and then you start to pan across, shoot the rest of the pano.
Right. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really
So
interesting.
I got that shot first. Yeah, I got that shot first, and then started to pan across to get the whole shot in.
Wow. Does your fiance join you on your expeditions? She
comes out sometimes. She's great. She's really supportive of everything that I'm doing, and she has a good, healthy fear of lightning, whereas I think I don't. I'm getting more and more used to it the more storms I shoot in, but she hasn't been with me to the States yet, and definitely keen to take her there one day and show her what it's all about. Lots of driving, lots of beef jerky in the car, and McDonald's drive-through and things like that. But when you stand in front of a scene like that one, I think that was North Dakota, 2017. I've never seen anything like that in my life. That was
it's just beautiful.
That was asperatus clouds, so they look like undulating waves in the sky. And there was a storm out the back there. There's like a faint little lightning bolt.
Yep.
And if you look at in the top left of frame, everyone's telling me that's a skull. So it's you can see it better. It was zoomed out, but I didn't even notice it until I checked the shot afterwards.
That's
but
trippy.
Yeah, a lot of people can see a face in that up the top left.
Yeah,
Most people send me messages all the time about faces and shapes they can see. That's the cool thing about clouds,
I know.
Everyone sees something different.
What we did as kids, just staring up at clouds. I love clouds. I think they're just oh gosh.
That's a supercell.
That, my friend, is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the back of the storm there. We were trying to get in front of it in Montana, and we just couldn't. It was moving way too fast, and the roads in Montana are terrible for chasing storms. So we pulled over and got out to look at that updraft. That's just like a huge surging kind of barber's pole going up into the atmosphere, dragging all that moisture and just convecting into a beast. It was just that's the States, that's the US. Seeing that kind of formation is it's pretty unique to over there. Just the power that you're getting in those storms. It's hard sometimes to see that type of dynamic at play, but that image really shows what happens when the storm's building. It's just dragging everything up into it and twisting away. Yeah, amazing.
It's like a big black hole, isn't it? It's just amazing. You've got me hooked.
Got to come for a trip.
Yeah, I got it.
It's so much fun when you see these scenes. I shot that storm for about 3 hours, constant phone calls and text messages. You were meant to be here, or you were meant to do this, And I just, nothing could pull me away from that. Watching that thing move out to sea was just astonishing.
There's something about the storms at sea, isn't it? They seem to generate more energy, and it feels like they float around in the same spot longer. Is that right?
I don't know why that is, but yeah, something about when they hit the coast, temperature difference or moisture difference or something like that. But they're definitely great to watch.
Yeah, the one that was near me the other night, that went on for 20 minutes or something, and it was just constant lightning. I mean, I was able to frame up watching the bolts and then start setting it off, but I messed it up. But anyway,
they're the best. Yeah, just framing it up. And yeah, that was South Dakota, and that was before it went kind of pink. It was still in that red phase. So we'd chase storms all day, and we missed pretty much everything. And we took one last shot at this area, I think just to the east off Mike's good abilities at finding amazing scenes. And he said, we'll just go this way for a bit. And we're like, okay. So we followed him along, and we saw this little kind of lip in the sky that was when you look at weather long enough, you know when you see something that's different. And I'm watching it, and it's shifting. And then we pulled up to shoot it. And it started to get interesting when the sun got lower. And I looked over to the west, and I said, we're on here. This is going to light up. This is going to be, from shooting landscapes, you're waiting for this light. You're waiting for the sunset. And I just said to the group, I said, we're on. This is going to light up. Get ready, And 2-3 minutes later, this thing exploded, just reds and rainbows and lightning, and you can't beat it. That made the entire trip to the States worth it. Just that one afternoon of shooting. And we saw a lot of cool things on that trip, but this was life-altering stuff.
I mean, that's phenomenal. And
yeah.
How many kilometers is the most that you've traveled in a day? Probably the US is the most, or
in a day, I don't know. I think one day we did 14 hours of driving, and I can't even remember how many kilometers that was. It was all in miles then too. We converted everything to miles, so it was a lot. It might have been 1,500 k's or something. I don't know. I can't remember, but for time. It was a long time. I think one day we did 14 hours of driving. Mm.
And this is incredible too. Is this the Salt Lake that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's in Victoria. That's Lake Tyrrell.
Gorgeous.
So the idea was to frame the Milky Way, and it got so muddy that I trudged out from that tree to frame my shot as a leading line. So there's my footprints, evidence that I was there. And the big kind of shooting beam of light on left of frame, that's the zodiacal light. The little gold point of light that's beaming across the surface of the lake, that's Venus.
No way.
Yeah, it just came over the horizon. And all that red kind of orange glow, that's air glow. And that's just something that you can't predict. It was just very, very lucky. My mate Rob in Victoria was sorry that he passed on that trip.
Oh, I bet he was. I'm gonna give Rob a call one day and tell him he's a sucker.
You should. I'll give him. I gave him heaps on Instagram. Heaps.
Oh,
he predicted clouds, so I just kept uploading this picture again and again in my story, saying, it looks like clouds. Clouds predicted. Rob Embry prediction: clouds, overcast. But yeah, it was mind blowing.
They can clear so quickly, though, can't they?
Mm.
Oh, gorgeous.
That's right near where I live. Yeah.
Yeah. How far is from where you are now to one of your
location?
Storm chasers? Well,
about
any of them.
I've got 5 minutes.
What's the closest?
Good lookout. About 5 minutes. Yeah, 5-minute drive, and then another one's probably about 20 minutes to a good lookout, and then another one probably 45 minutes. But I try not to get too far away because of work.
Well, there you are at work.
That's a Mike Orbinski shot, my mate Mike. So he got that photo. Speaking of Rob, that's Rob from Victoria behind me, photobombing me. I've threatened to clone him out that many times. I said, dude, I don't want you in the shot. You know, you've ruined my hero moment. I'm just going to clone you out. And I know if I do it, we won't be friends anymore. So I've got to leave him in there.
That's a great shot.
Yeah.
And that's it. We did it right when you have to go. Yep.
Thanks heaps, mate. It's been so good talking to you.
I know. I could talk to you for ages. I know you got to go. So I'm going to let you rush out the door. And I bet you're going to grab a camera on the way and find that storm as well as your business meeting.
There's
and
one in
I'll
the
wrap
car.
it up. But, man, thank you so much.
No, thank you, man. I really appreciate the invite and all your interest in my shots. It's pretty humbling, actually. Thanks heaps.
Oh, you got to be kidding me! I just love it. I love a passionate photographer, and I love great photographs. You know, it's what I live for, and I know it's what you live for. And just because I do it for work doesn't mean that I can't love it. And I just want to share all your guys' stories. So
no, you're a legend. We got to go for a shoot sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. All
right. Thanks heaps, mate.
Cheers, brother. Yeah, man. Again, thanks so much, and you get going.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, bro. Wow. What can I say? What an absolute classic. A storm comes through in the middle of it. We got lightning strikes. We got thunder. We've got Will having to get out of here. Absolutely crazy stuff. I loved it. I know you guys are going to love it. Absolutely sensational images. Hope you learn a few things. Like I said, I text him when a storm's coming, and it's like, what do I do now? What do I have to do? And then Will let me know when there's a storm on the way. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. I did. If you get a chance, subscribe and do the bell. And we love getting comments. I love getting comments. So, you know, I'm good at having a chat back. So if you want to leave a comment down below, that would be epic. And have a great day. Cheers.